To accept ourselves as we are means to value our imperfections as much as our perfections. Hi, I'm Linda Watson-Call. Thank you for joining me for this episode of Dragonfly Soup. If I ask you, who are you? What would your answer be? Now, some of you would probably just tell me your name, and others would also give me your occupation. And there was a time when people identified themselves by their family, as in, I'm George, the barber's son. Sometimes we identify ourselves with the region or area where we live. Now, some people identify themselves by their traits or their strengths. Oh no, some people say, don't ever do that. People will say you're boastful and proud. And so, too often, we say what we're not instead of who we are and think we are practicing humility. I suppose I should let my actions speak for themselves, but what if this person asking me that question has just met me? How will he ever really know me? Possibly never. It all depends on the circumstances or the situation. So here we are. We want to say what we do and what we're good at, but we don't want to come across as if we were the best. We need to acquire the ability to describe ourselves for who and what we are. And we can gain this through accomplishing two things: self-esteem and having self-love. Now, self-esteem is having confidence in your worth as a person. That is what you are, not what somebody else believes you're all about. A healthy self-esteem should never be confused with conceit or narcissism. A person with a good sense of who they are also knows their weaknesses as well as their strengths. A narcissistic person, on the other hand, has an inflated view of their importance and needs to be in the spotlight as much as possible. Healthy self-esteem can be developed over time by focusing on having a positive rather than a negative outlook on life, by being a can-do person, by stretching a little to learn something new, and saying no when you know that you can't do something without feeling ashamed that you can't, and being able to express your needs. Now, this can be tricky, and you may feel that you're being a little selfish, but you will feel worse if you say yes and then hate yourself for committing to doing something that you don't have the time for or simply can't do it. And always say thank you when you receive a compliment instead of finding a reason why you shouldn't have gotten that compliment. Reaching a healthy level of self-esteem will take work, but think of how much better you will feel about yourself. And that brings me to self-love. First and foremost, self-love is not selfishness. A selfish person only thinks of oneself and will do anything to get his way. A person with a high degree of self-love, however, will also practice self-care. They eat healthy, exercise, and get enough sleep. A person who has self-love knows how to set boundaries. And this sounds so similar to saying no from self-esteem. A person who has self-love can forgive themselves for doing something wrong and then work on getting it right. A person who practices self-love lives intentionally and mindfully. The best part is this person would never try to harm another person physically or emotionally just to make themselves feel better. And again, just like self-esteem, you can learn self-love by having patience with yourself and practicing the concepts one or two at a time. Sandra Bierig, author of Transforming the Codependent Woman, wrote, "To accept ourselves as we are means to value our imperfections as well as our perfections." We don't pretend that we are someone we're not. We don't downplay who we are either. That can be a fine line for some of us, but with practice, it gets easier. We start to notice when we push away. Let's say we're offered a job or a promotion. Do we think, I'm up for it? Well, I'll have to do some stretching and learning, but I can do it. Or do we actually say something like, oh no, I'm not sure I could handle that? Think, I can do it, or it wouldn't have been offered to me. Ask yourself, how can I be up for receiving? This could be getting anything that you're striving for. So let's say you have a goal to move to another location. How can I be open to receiving information about places that would be more suitable for me? Sometimes, just by being open, things seem to happen almost by chance. One year, things weren't going quite right for me. I wasn't getting as many projects as I usually did, and the hay that we needed for our horses was coming in. We had to pay our hayman, but with what? So I opened myself up for receiving. I put out to the universe that we had to take care of our horses, and that meant getting the money for a year's supply of hay. Well, the next day I got a check, payment in advance for the riders for our therapeutic riding program. Now, the agency that sent the check usually paid after the riders had ridden their 6 or 8 weeks, but someone had decided that it would be easier for them to pay us in advance for the summer riders. Being open for receiving. Know your worth, know your capabilities, live mindfully, and most important, know and love yourself. Let me know either in an email or a message what changes you've experienced by increasing your self-esteem and self-love. Be sure to click like and share this episode with a friend. You might also want to check out our gift shop where you can purchase items like this Dragonfly Soup t-shirt, hoodies, or other gifts. The link is below. Or you can show your support for this program by clicking this link. Any contribution to help continue this series is greatly appreciated. And I'll see you next week, right here on Dragonfly Soup. Here's to our transformation and our best year ever.